What's up, guys? It's Hussien Jabai of Jabai Performance with our Personal Training Essentials series, and today we are going to be talking about pricing for one-on-one personal training. First things first, guys, notice that my board is a mess. That is because the answer to what should my personal training pricing be when working with a one-on-one client, it depends on a lot of different factors, and you really have to kind of have that inner debate of all these different factors, all these different questions to kind of build your price point. So let's just work our way down the list. First one is going to be travel. So if you're not at one location for all of your clients, it's how much time or distance. You're going to have to think to yourself, okay, which one is going to weigh out more? Distance, when you're pitching, the pricing to the actual individual, are you going to go by miles? Or just with yourself, are you going to kind of collaborate internally and think, okay, it's going to take me 30 minutes, it's going to take me an hour, because even though you might be traveling 15 miles, due to traffic, it might be 30 minutes, it might be 20 minutes. So you have to consider that time, because time equals dollars. When you're looking at traveling to a client and it takes 30 minutes to get there, and then it takes another 30 minutes to get back, or 30 minutes to get there, then an hour to get to your next client, that's an hour to an hour and a half that could actually be designated to another client if you were in one set, or one set location or one setting. Next point is going to be experience. That's kind of self-explanatory. This can be anything from your education. So how many or what level of degrees do you have? Do you have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree? Do you have a PhD? I know an individual that has an associate's versus someone that has a PhD. I know they're going to look at their experience a whole lot differently. Someone spent maybe $5,000 on an associate's, whatever it might be, and then maybe someone spent $100,000 or whatever you're spending on your PhD. You're going to want to charge differently. And then the same concept with certifications. If you have one certification versus 5 certifications, if you have $100 certification or you paid $500 for a top level accredited level certification, you're going to weigh out what your value is in the sense of experience. And then overall in-field experience. So this is actually working with clients. If you've been in the field for 1 year, you've been in the field for 5 or 10 years. If you've been, training people for 20 years, the last thing you want to do is train someone for $10 an hour. So looking at experience is going to be a huge factor when setting your price point. Going with experience is going to be specificity. So this goes along with your in-field experience, but this is narrowing down your audience. So say you work a lot of strength and conditioning, but you work mainly with youth athletes, or say you work strength and conditioning and you work with first responders, say you work corrective exercise and you work with elderly, you work rehab and recovery. So once you start specifying or being more specific in your actual audience, then you might want to charge more because your experience is going to be higher, but then also the type or form of training or specificity of your actual education and what you're relaying to that client is going to be at a higher level and higher value. Next one is obviously going to be a huge ordeal, and that's low versus high income areas. If you're training individuals in a very, very small town, income is ranging from 20 to maybe 40K per individual, or maybe 30 to 50K per household. You're not going to be charging $100 to $120 per hour. But maybe in the city, it's going to range from 60 to maybe 100K per person, and then 100 to 150 to 200K per household. It just kind of depends what area you're in. I've seen very low income areas. I've trained individuals in very low income areas, and also trained clients in very high income areas. So make sure you're weighing out just the area and kind of the financial situation of that area or the households in that region, and then using that to kind of come up with your price point. Another big one is going to be demand. Are you popular? Are people reaching out to work with you? Do you have a waiting list? Are you already working with 10 clients and your day is completely full, and you have 3 potential clients hitting you up and you just don't have enough time in the day, and they're kind of on the back burner on the waiting list in case one client reaches their goals or kind of drops out due to a financial situation? Maybe more people on the waiting list just have to work with you. They don't want another trainer, they need to work with you. Being able to charge more, saying, hey, I only have one more session slot or time slot, I only have 2 more time slots for the week, whatever it might be. you might be able to charge more because now you're in demand, you're popular, people want to work with you, so you're able to set your price a lot higher. Demographic is going to be huge, so whether you're working with youth, adults, or elderly, it's going to play a huge factor. So say you're working with youth or you want to train youth athletes, that's awesome. Just know either the kid's paying for it or their parents are. And if the parents are paying for it, that means they really, really want that kid to go to the next level or provide them with kind of more of an advantage, or a lot of parents see as an advantage, sending them to specialists, coaches, trainers outside of the athletic setting. But if the youth individual is paying for it, keep in mind they're not going to be able to pay $90 an hour. They're not going to probably even pay for $30 an hour. Most youth athletes, even in high school nowadays, I guess, really aren't working while they're in high school. So looking at, depending on whether you're working with youth or if you're working with adults, I think you're kind of available to free roam with your pricing. But then you look at working with elderly, and if they're not working, realize they're working straight out of retirement money. So they're not having that continual progression of income. It's more or less just relying on what they already have coming in as retirement. Obviously, the duration of the session is going to be a huge factor. If you're working with someone for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour, typically how I would price it is, let's just say, and this isn't the pricing point that I use, but let's just say you do $20 an hour, right? So half of 20, so say you're doing a 30-minute session instead of an hour, half of 20 is going to be 10. But instead, you charge them 12 to 15 for the 30 minutes. And so they're like, well, it would be easier, not easier, it would be more financially efficient to go ahead and pay for the hour, because it's going to be $20 instead of two 30-minute sessions. That's going to be maybe $24 to $30 for two 30-minute sessions. So it's going to be make more financial sense to pay for the actual hour. Plus you're going to be, during the consultation, you're going to say, hey, during the 30 minutes, I'm not going to be able to provide you with as much education as an hour would, as well as our warm-ups and actually getting into the workout, then going to our cool down. So it's a great selling point when you're doing your consultation, actually selling training packages. So another factor is going to be your commission or floor fee. As a trainer, if you're utilizing someone else's space or someone else's facility, keep in mind they're going to charge you for it. Whether it's an 80-20, 90-10 split, that means 80% is going to you, 20% is going to the club, or 90 to you, 10 to them. Honestly, some places do a 70-30, some do a 60-40. It just kind of depends on the facility when it comes to commission and the percentage that goes to you. But keep in mind, if you're 50% and they're 50% and you're charging $30, you're only getting half of it, so you might want to charge a little bit more beyond the $30, so that you're actually going to get a higher dollar value for your training session. But maybe if it's a 90-10, you don't have to charge as much because you're getting a majority of what you're charging. And then looking at the floor fee, just keep in mind, some places do this. I really don't see it as much anymore. Some studios might, but that's basically saying a studio or a facility is going to say, hey, for the month, maybe for the first 3 months, I'm not going to charge you anything, but after the initial 3 months, then I'm going to charge you $500 or $1,000 a month for utilizing my space. So pros and cons is, first off, you need to be able to generate that much, at least that much to not be in the red, but then to generate past that so that you're actually profiting. But the pro is, after you start profiting, they're not going to take any more beyond that. But the benefit to the commission side of things, whether it's the 90-10, 80-20, 60-40, doesn't matter, is you're always making something off of those sessions. They're not gonna expect you to make a certain amount before you start profiting. You continuously make a portion of every single session. Now we're gonna look at long-term versus short-term clients. So that means whether you're working with someone for, you just started working with them, and so you're charging your general $75 an hour, $100 an hour, doesn't matter. And then after 2 or 3 years, and I do this too, say you charge $75 an hour, $80 an hour, $100 an hour, doesn't matter. And you've been working with them for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Maybe you maintain that rate. Say you go from $50 an hour and now you're charging people $75, but you're actually maintaining that level of pricing with the person you retained just for that loyalty, just because they're continuously working with you. Or two, say you maintain your pricing as you go, you can actually drop theirs maybe $5, throw in an extra training session, say, hey, I'm going to give you an extra training session on me per month or per week. I mean, it just kind of depends on your situation, but you're actually building that value of, hey, you've been working with me and I just want to show you that I appreciate it. And so now you're actually giving them, whether it's a session, whether it's a discount, doesn't matter, but you're showing that their loyalty matters and you do appreciate it. The next one's gonna be a great selling point. This is how many sessions or how many times you're gonna see them per week. So for me, I usually expect at least 2 times per week. One, that actually provides me with some sort of income, having each individual work with me twice a week. If you have just people working once, with you once per week, now you have to have at least 100 people to fill an entire week. If they actually do 2 to 3 minimum with you, this is now filling your schedule, but it's also making sure you have that stable income versus just 1 session per week. And if they miss that 1 session, depending on your contracts, maybe they have to reschedule and you don't even get paid for that session. And so making sure you're actually seeing how many times per week and setting a minimum. But then 2, for me as a selling point, I say, hey, if you're gonna work with me twice a week, I'm gonna charge $75 for each session. But if you do 3 times per week, I'm gonna charge $70 per session. If you do 4 times per week, I'm gonna do $60 per session. And so to them, it's like, okay, the more I purchase or the more I see you, the less each session is gonna cost. And so it kind of builds that value, gives them that option of, okay, maybe I do want an extra session, but I can't keep affording $75 an hour, but maybe I want to do 4, but I can't do it at 75, so I'm gonna have to do 2 or 3, but if you can bump it down per amount of sessions that they're gonna actually see you per week, this might actually give them some sort of value or incentive to actually see you more often, do more training sessions, and buy a bigger training package. And the last one is gonna be your time value, so your self-worth. How confident are you in your education, your specificity, the audience you're working with? How confident are you in giving them results, in helping them see progress? How confident are you in selling whatever your pricing point is gonna be? If you're not confident that you can sell training sessions at $100 an hour, and maybe you're not even confident saying, hey, I'm gonna need $20 from you for 1 training session. I have $2. Then maybe you should approach it from $10 an hour. Maybe you should approach it from $5 an hour. It depends on all these different factors, but at the end of the day, it depends on what you feel your worth is. So with everything being said, I hope you found this video very educational. I hope you enjoy the Personal Training Essentials series. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to send me an email at jabaiperformance@gmail.com or hjabai@jabaiperformance.live. You can check out our website at jabaiperformance.live. Until next time, guys, my name is Hussien Jabai, and this is Jabai Performance's Personal Training Essentials series. Thank you.